Hello and welcome to another edition of the Eternal Journey. And that resolves, and this is Lumen Distortion. So because I'm actually just a terrible human being, I'm going to play this deck for a couple of rounds and see how it goes. Since Temporal Distortion was released, there's been a couple of us players trying to make games as miserable as possible for our opponents. But no one's really decided on a fully defined list yet. I built this sort of from an amalgamation of all the lists I could find, but then I just added in a couple of greedy pieces that were interesting mostly to me. So big fan of New Tomorrow, just wanted to finally play it after crafting it a couple of months ago. And we've also got the Lumen Reclaimer here as well. Just for those cheeky alternate win conditions where we might be able to deck our opponent out or interrupt any sort of haunting scream nonsense. The Lumen Reclaimer isn't exactly perfect here because we can shuffle in sync powers and find the ways back into our deck, which isn't really where we want to be. But we also get to do some interesting stuff as well, as we get to just shuffle back in all that card draw like the Strategize and the Wisdom of the Elders, and also if we aren't able to find a Disjunction, we're able to shuffle back in our Sword of the Sky King and hopefully just be able to keep redrawing these Channel of Tempest for lethal. We do have the sword, so when we are able to take over the game, in conjunction with the Stronghold's Visage, we should be able to close it out pretty quickly. But let's see how the games play out. Okay, and here we are on the play with a reasonable hand here, as we do get to make a Stronghold's Visage pretty easily because we've got 4 power in hand and a little bit of an Aegis. And the Hailstorm and Reclaimer should be able to keep us in the game as well. So this could be just a straight Praxis deck we're against here. And that's probably a fine matchup. Because we've already got the second Primal source here, although we do have Channel in the deck, I do really want to get the second time source so we can just go straight into this Moondial. So with Moondial plus Eilyn's Favour, we should have plenty of ways to be able to just find the quad Primal. Our opponent's playing Moment here, nice. So Bro's going to play the Moondial down just because it'll help us just to keep hitting our power just a little bit at Nightfall. And then hopefully we're able to fade like a Rain of Frogs or something like that. Just long enough to get this Stronghold's Visage down. Unfortunately, we've not drawn additional power here, but we've got another turn here. And then we might actually just start activating the Moondial. I do like the FTP Moment deck here, but I'm not sure it's ever beaten a Eilyn's Favour. Oh, Eilyn's Choice or Eilyn's Favour, I guess. But yeah, I mean Eilyn's Choice. And we'll just string Visages, that's sort of fine in my book. Just chuck this back in. It's not the end of the world. I'm not quite sure how this Shuffle Avoid works, like maybe it shuffles my actual deck as well. I suppose for the sake of science we'll try it and see what we draw next time. Yep, so it actually does shuffle your deck, which is some interesting technology here. So let's go on, might have a Desert Wasp. I played our opponent's deck a couple of times before, and it always felt like it was pretty rough to play against any Eilyn's Favours. As when your win condition is basically a 7-cost sorcery speed spell, it's pretty rough to push that through. Although now we've got the Visage down, should be in good shape here. Though I'm pretty happy just to be chumping here really. We still get a little bit of value and then we just get ever closer, just be able to channel this. Mullet and Nikova is going to be a pretty big problem for us. Guild choice is fine there, we've already got our additional card out of it. Could have had 2 if we didn't play the Visage. But over time, if we're able to keep the Visage in play, then we should be able to clean up with the Sword of the Sky King. Though we do really need to get it above the 8 toughness here. Basically, Primal Sigil isn't really what we're looking for here. I'm sort of tempted just to chuck down the 2 Hailstorms, but I'm also sort of fine if our opponent just applies more to the board here, because even if they make like a Molten over here, we've got a pretty nice way of cleaning it up. Just 2 for 2 in our opponent with the Hailstorm into Harsh Rule. Though we do need to be a little bit cautious, we can't just Sky King this next turn, because I'm pretty confident our opponent's got like a Scorpion Wasp in hand. This doesn't feel super great, because our opponent's already like gained cards off these, but I am just going to Harsh Rule here. If this doesn't work, then we take 12, but then we get to tide it with double Hailstorm next turn. Torch is sort of fine. I mean, it removes some armor, but I'm a little while away from actually playing this Sky King anyway. I think the next plan is just to drop this new tomorrow. This is sort of perfect. We do 2 for 1 ourselves there, just by slamming double Hailstorm. Perhaps it was better actually just to channel one of the threats. But ideally, I just want to keep the board as tiny as possible, just so we're able to slam this new tomorrow. As soon as we get the undepleted power here. Okay, so I guess we're just drawing a bunch of cards and just trying to find a Vanquish just for one of these. Face Aegis is fine here. We do pretty much need a Harsh Rule and to be able to actually resolve it. As we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage from a channel. If it gets countered, then it's going to suck to be us. But I don't really want to play the sword because I'm pretty convinced that our opponent does have like a Wasp. Although if this is a Backlash or some sort of counterspell, then we are dead anyway here. Now we can Crest here. And the Marshal's pretty good. I was considering just playing the Desert Marshal just as like a block here. But I think we'll actually just strategize. Push one of these powers to the bottom, so when we actually get around to it, we get to play it for free with the new tomorrow there. This Marshal's probably going to help us in a bunch of matchups here. I mean, we are taking 8 here, but we also do gain 2 a turn from the Stronghold's Visage. I don't really want to chuck down the Harsh Rule straight away though. I'd much rather just get a little bit more value off it. But now we do have the Eilyn's Choice. If this didn't enter them depleted, that'd be pretty sweet. But I think we'll try and channel this first. Just prompt a response from our opponent, because we do also have the Eilyn's Choice here to be able to deal with the animated Sentinel. And we can be a little bit greedy and just try and go ham with the Desert Marshals. But I'm also just want to get cards off my opponent, and the Equivocate here. So our opponent's got an 8, so it's going to bring it to a random 8. Just to protect ourselves from another moment of creation here, we will just keep up the Eilyn's Choice. So a little bit of a Crest, and we don't need power on top as we're going to pretty shortly just try and resolve this anew tomorrow. And then hopefully we should be able to wrap up the game from there. And what's this? An indestructible 6/6. This is pretty gross. But fortunately we do have a Desert Marshal here to be able to have a word with that. And I don't think we can quite safely play this new tomorrow yet. I think we'll Lumen Reclaimer first. Chuck all that stuff back in our deck. And then we get to hold up a Desert Marshal. But we're probably just going to double block this thing. Now we've got 9 cards, so we're fine here. So I'm probably going to silence this, double block it. Because at the moment I really want to be saving this Al's Choice just to be beating any additional copies of Moment of Creation here. The opponent just gets to attack pretty much with impunity with these roll up the Iron Fists. And if I probably use a torch here just to sort of get rid of this Desert Marshal, that's something I'm fine with. Yep, that's fine. Because now we can actually just kill a roll up whenever we feel like it. They're just getting nice and fat with Lumen Reclaimers here. But nothing else to play here. So we're not in super danger from dying to the Roland. So I think we can actually new tomorrow now. Our opponent wants to counterspell this is fine. And we get a bunch of scouts here. Oh, looks like just one so far. This animation is taking an obscene amount of time. And Wisdom of the Elders, when I've got 24 power in play, yep. And yep. So now we're at 24 power. Then I'm sort of happy just to take 6 here, that's fine. But next turn I think is the turn where we actually just deal with this threat. So cheeky little Strategize. So I'm just playing for our food at this point, but we don't actually have a very easy way of winning. Moondial's nice. Let's get rid of this Lumen Reclaimer. I think we will finally just deal with this. Now we've all got good stuff in our bin. The nuke tomorrow is a little bit questionable, of course. But we can get the Moondial down. And just start drawing some cards here. And Hailstorm, which is not the best against what we're up against. But we get to keep up the Desert Marshal and the Island's Choice. Then now for the rest of the game we do get to start going ham with this Moondial, just drawing 2 cards a turn, and eventually we'll find a way to be able to end the game. So our opponent's moments of creations, if they can actually resolve any, are going to be absolutely huge here. Yep, so we're looking at 13/13s now. And if our opponent spends any resources to try and counter this, and they do get the moment, then we are able to deal with the harsh rule. But I'm pretty sure our opponent doesn't actually play any real counter spells in this deck. And I suppose I'm in a position here where we're sort of happy just to chuck out a bunch of cards here. The Hailstorms. Right, there we go. So I've got another Visage here. So now I'm going to feel pretty safe to be able to play the Sword of the Sky King over the next couple of turns. But I'd really like to find a Temporal. And Channel Tempest is pretty good hit because we get to just bop this. I'm not sure how much of the spell that counters, I'm not sure if it counters the whole thing and just stops us from drawing the cards, which is pretty gross. But it looks like we still get to actually draw our cards here. And now we've got the Disjunction. And we should be able to keep this sword around for enough turns to be able to end the game. I'll just get rid of the Island's Favour. I've already got an Aegis and one of these Lumen Reclaimers, not doing anything. These games do take a bit of time here. Props to my opponent for just playing it out. So we do get to sort of have it all here. Yep. So the ideal play was just to slash it on for like a quick channel Tempest and just be able to kill our opponent from there. Okay, and we do have the Temporal Distortion in hand, but as we do have the Hailstorm, the Marshal to tidy up, maybe that's actually okay, although we're on the draw, so I think this is really just a redraw here. Sort of similar hand, but we do have the, on the cheaper interaction, a basic Fire Sigil into a Grending Drone. I'm really glad that we redrew this here, as the 2 Hailstorms should really go a long way. And I will actually keep that Crest because it brings us ever closer to be able to get the 2 life here, which could be the make or break, as well as brings us a little bit closer to be able to play Temporal Distortion. And decks are going to have a bunch of charge units. Okay, so we're going to take a fireball to the face off that little Grending. Cobalt Waystone is going to be good against this deck as well, because it means that any further ticking Grendings we get a little bit of protection from. But sort of happy just to take a little bit of damage here. This opponent might just be playing actual mono fire. So we could wait and just protect ourselves from free damage, but in doing so we still take free damage just from the attack, even though we do get to potentially bait a few more units from our opponent here. Now we're in pretty good shape as we have a face Aegis, and we'll get to hold up a Desert Marshal if there's any charge units that are going to be causing us any problems. So if there's any Soulfire Drakes in our future here. Celestial Omen is going to be pretty good here as well. It's going to be able to turn into whatever we want. But I'm just going to hold fire for that. Don't really want a second Desert Marshal, just want undepleted power. I want to be able to play down this Temporal Distortion and then be able to hold up the Celestial Omen just to get some Channel the Tempest. I do get to gain 2 here. I really do want to turn this into an actual channel though. So I've got the feeling that our opponent must just have a bunch of like reactive spells in hand, but I'm quite happy just to take 2 here for a couple of turns. We can also, now we've got a channel, as with end of the game, we can also just use a Celestial Omen to grab perhaps a Visage, which will help us to really pull a game out of reach from our opponent. And here we go. So we get Distortion up. And our basic fire deck is not going to have any answers for what we're about to be doing. So if they play something big, we do get to channel it. But reasonably happy just to be taking 2 here. And I suppose this is like the skill testing part, so we get to do quite a bit of damage here. But I think we're also going to Omen, just grab a Visage. And it's not quite ending the game. But if we're able to stick this against this sort of deck, once we clear the board with the Hailstorm, we should be able to keep our opponent off our back. This is sort of like a pristine talisman, and it can definitely make playing against us pretty miserable for the opponent. So right now they're attacking for free, but it's only really one. I'm sort of hoping that we get to tempt out a rally here, perhaps. Okay, Pummel's fine here. We'll just channel this. I was left with a 1-1, but we do only take the 1 damage here. But does still get to scout, and you still do get a 1-1. But this deck definitely feels like it's playing with your food, but I do find these decks actually quite relaxing to play. Because when you're playing control decks, like, a lot of your decisions don't really matter. Because what you were doing is generally just so powerful. Okay, we'll just keep drawing cards here. Just enable us to play a bunch of power out. I think having the Eilyn's Favour in hand as well is actually pretty nice as well. But I think right here we're just going to be bottoming the Vanquish, because it's unlikely we have any decent Vanquish targets, and 1's probably more than enough here. What gaining 2 life here means that this attack is actually not doing anything for our opponent. So I think we're at the phase of the game now where perhaps it's going to be challenging our opponent's face. That doesn't really do anything, so we'll just challenge the opponent's face, and it's nice to see our opponent going ham here with the mono fire gradients. I'm just hoping they've not just had like a really terrible draw in terms of power, but I'm pretty convinced that let's just play new tomorrow. This is sweet. I don't think anyone's actually played this on YouTube yet, so I'll be pretty interested to see how this actually goes over. Well, I'm pretty sure the general consensus is that people tend to hate this style of deck, and I can definitely see why. Yep, we're definitely going to keep the Wisdom Elders on top, don't worry. It's Jammer Seat, and then we get to do the old Hailstorm on our opponent's turn, which is just absolutely absurd. Hopefully our opponent gets like a rally, so we're able to vanquish this dude. But Hailstorm and then Desert Marshal to block this is probably just enough nonsense. They'll perhaps get to see some of our opponent's reactive spells here. I'm curious what these cards actually are. That's much of Into the Furnace type effects. Yeah, that's fine. So it's not reasonably happy just to chuck another one of these down. Just get that block in. And if it gets our opponent to spend cards from the hand, then that's fine as well. And I think now's the point where I'm actually sort of fine just to take free. We'll keep this Desert Marshal just in case something a little bit more exciting happens. Probably just going to play this Temporal Distortion out as well. And here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Get some Moondial action going. And we've got a Disjunction. Got anything exciting in the bin? Doesn't look like we do. So just play it out. Taking free still sort of fine. Our opponent plays like a Grinding Lord. That's sort of ideal because I actually get to turn the Vanquish into a removal spell for this K-Cruncher. But we are slowly starting to run out of gas though. Because we've got so much power, we get to really go ham with this Moondial. And here we go. So the opponent gets to start flooding the board here with little dudes. I think rather than sort of keeping these in hand as tricks, I think we're just going to chuck them out. Just sort of, yeah, so I should probably have actually just counted how many Primal Sigils we had. There we go, let's get this Wisdom down. There we go, that's what we're looking for, was the harsh rule really. Okay, so we're getting reasonably close to just being able to kill our opponent just with the channel here. Oops. So I've just got no sigils left. I should really be counting this sort of stuff, but I'm just having a little bit too much fun here. And with the Nightfall just getting a couple of chip points of damage, the channel of Tempest is getting a little bit closer. A Scrap Heap is going to be gross against us here, but we definitely just need to Disjunction that. The opponent's just trying to use the activated ability. How much does it cost? Like, it costs 4 actually, so opponent's down by a power. Opponent must be playing on tablet or something, because I have to individually select each of these. Is this a rally? Are we finally seeing it? Come on, we know it's there. Oh. They'll actually just have the power here. This must be incredibly frustrating to not have like an attack all button on whatever console our opponent's playing on. Okay, this is fine. I feel incredibly cruel for playing this deck against Diamond ones. But we'll just sort of channel our opponent here. Like, give him the old business with a harsh rule. No, our opponent passes, we'll just be killing this because this is enough nonsense. I don't want to just take like 15 off another gear crunch if our opponent's got one. Let's just bin that. Oh, there we go. I suppose we'll just start with the Sky King. No point just being incredibly cruel and drawing another 2 cards. Okay, and I think it's actually just a redraw here because we've got a bunch of 8 drops and 2 power. Okay, so I think straight away we'll just chuck down the Seat of Order. And then I'm sort of tempted that depending on what our opponent's playing, I might just chuck down the Strategize, just try and find a Hailstorm. Or it could just be that we're just happy just to play some depleted powers and then get this Eilyn's Favour going on turn 3. So like a depleted sort of Argenport colours then, maybe more likely just to land the Eilyn's Favour, but a Crest of Fury here is telling me that perhaps we're playing against a Primal Ikari deck here. Yep, there we go. So it's always Primal Ikari with the turn 1 Crest of Fury. Now, I've got pretty much every power we need, but I think at this point I'll just grab another Primal Sigil just because we do have channels in the deck. We do have to contend with a lot of difficult threats from our opponent though. Play the Shiny one just to let them know we're mean business. I don't think we need just like infinite power. Keep a Primal Sigil in the deck here. Play a time. Try this again. So Ikari could be a real problem for us. But hopefully the Lightning Strike and the Disjunction are able to deal with whatever weapons they've got as well. Yeah, just bin this Vanquish. We'll just use this to pop the Aegis, then we'll use the channel just to kill the Ikari. And hopefully we're just able to keep on top of any juicy die shields here. And I think I've got enough cards in hand, and my hand's sort of fine. Don't really need to strategize right away. I'd really like to be looking a little bit more like I'm flooding before I chuck this strategize down. And here we go. Get to live the dream right here. Get to gain 2 life off the Amber Waystone next turn. There's no real turn 7 plays that we want. It's our turn 8s that we'd really rather set up here. Sadly we didn't have a answer to this, but it looks like our opponent's going to be actually making the turn 70 carrier in a deck that doesn't generally do that, because the influence in their deck is just absolute stains. Desert Marshal's pretty good there. Do we need all these channels? No. Do we want them? Yep. So find the way, no sir. So probably actually just going to Desert Marshal the Sicaria, and then we'll untap and channel it, and just feel like the smartest human alive. And if this is like actually an actual weapon they rose for, then we just don't feel very clever at all. Let's just deal with Die Show that isn't buffed, but that's fine. We'll just channel whatever our opponent gets up to. Yep, we'll take 5. Rats. We now actually needed the Seek power there. I suppose we'll just do like the... Whoops. Yeah, I did need another Primal Source, so I got a little bit too excited myself. It's alright. Well, we'll get there with these channels eventually. I'll just put this down to just being an absolutely terrible matchup, and I can't believe we lost. We got so unlucky, even though we've obviously just made the mistakes ourselves. So now we'll do it. Yeah, taste it. So hopefully they didn't just like fetch up a weapon, because that'd just be absolute stains. And I think the plan is here is just to Desert Marshal into channel whatever they got. If they've got a weapon, I'm just going to Desert Marshal it. So they could have actually just got Sword of the Sky King, and if they want to Eilyn's choice this, then I'm totally fine with that, because we do have 2 channels in hand. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. So just another misclick there, so give me the old wahaha. That was supposed to be a Temporal, but that's sort of fine. We'll draw one eventually. We'll just randomly not got a card in hand here. So I'm hoping that we get to feel super smart here, and it's actually just a Die Show. Like, you can escape me. Yep. Go on. We all know that you're holding it up. Well, I suppose we'll just keep doing this. I'm pretty sure they're holding it up because, yeah. But that is going to constrain the plays quite a lot. They're going to probably feel a lot safer about actually just playing out threats now, because I've already seen one of these. Yeah, this is fine. We could take 4 for another couple of turns here, but we're just going to be channeling the Tempest next turn again. And this game would have been a lot different if I was able to actually Celestial Omen the way that I wanted to. But I suppose that's what you come here for. You don't come here for the top plays, you come here for the excellent entertainment from yours truly. And let's just wisdom here so we can find something a little bit spicy. We've got a Sword of the Sky King. But I think what we're actually going to do here is just send our opponent a message. Literally no fear. Draw a card of Moondial and kill your Runehammer. Just like, gift, taste it. Go on, 12ers. Oh, they had to ruin it, didn't they? Just like, rise in front of one. Go on, I'll let you off. I assume this matchup's terrible, and we didn't help it by not playing the best. Okay, we've got a reasonable hand here. I've got nearly all the primal sources that we need for these Channeler Tempest, and we've got Desert Marshal's interaction and Wisdom Elders to keep us drawing cards. Fire-based like only running deck could be pretty gross for us, but we've also got the Desert Marshal, which is pretty good, and I generally like to be quite proactive with my Desert Marshals as well. As I'm a big fan of just like snapping this off at slow speeds if it's a normal unit and just sort of essentially invalidating one of our opponent's units. It's really good against like Arcano Outlaw. But straight up Praxis here. I'm pretty sure we'll just be able to overpower this with whatever they're doing. Because we do have stuff like Harsh Rule, and we've got a nice answer for the Dawnwalkers, so they should be able to grind us out here. Let's get like a nice slow draw here, so no initiates. So maybe this is like a bigger version that's got stuff like Kiln Fiend, but we're just going to keep drawing cards. Land of Stronghold's Visage. There we go. So we've got the Temporal Distortion, which is what this deck's basically built around. I'm reasonably excited to be playing that, so we'll lead off with a Strategize. And this is probably like the Merfolk Looter thing, where I'm probably just going to discard one of the spells that I draw. Okay, well, they're all pretty good. We do have the Wisdom Elders spell to draw more power, but I do also just like having a bunch of power. Just bottom of Strategize. Because I sort of like everything we've got. Vanquish is a nice cheap spell. It's going to be able to help us deal with whatever our opponent's up to. Next turn, more than happy just to take the turn off just to play Stronghold's Visage. That can be pretty gross if our opponent does Shark Class Majors. And yep, still sort of happy. We've got the Face Aegis to protect us for a turn from the Shark Class. And even though our opponent does get to draw a card here, we're more than well equipped to be able to outcard them back. And if they draw something nice they're able to play, then we'll just get to sweep up with the Harsh Rule. I'm just more than happy to just have this as a 1-for-1. I do actually don't have the Justice Source that we need here, so that's pretty gross, but we just gonna let our opponent draw a card again here. We're gonna Desert Marshal and block this, but first off, just for a cheeky bit of information, just gonna Wisdom Elders. If I draw like a Lightning Strike, I might just bin this off. And the Seek Power is pretty great here as well. Also confident our opponent's got a Torch, but I'm also sort of happy for them to use it here, because then it means that our Harsh Rule gets a lot more value here. Especially if our opponent like follows up like a Sandstorm Titan or just some sort of threat. There we go. Another Dawnwalker is not exactly what we wanted to see. But we are getting pretty close to the point where we can actually just not care about it. I'm just going to be able to invalidate it eventually with just the Stronghold's Visage. As we do have like a million Harsh Rules here, we should be able to just slow our opponent down enough to not actually get max value out of it. Add extra sources. Nope, don't really need that. We could just use the cheap Vanquish here to get rid of 6/6, but I'd rather just keep the board nice and tidy. And then next turn we get to land a Temporal Distortion. If we need to, we get to Harsh Rule again, but it's very likely we're just going to channel a Tempest, like the one threat that actually does matter. Here we go. Nice disgusting Heart of Vault off the top. That's definitely getting channeled. And find the way, not the most impressive draw here. But it's a nice little addition, as we do have the Channel Tempest there. And these games do take a long time to actually play out, so maybe this deck isn't perfect for the ladder. I think I should just fine taking 10 here. It's like, well, if our opponent deploys more to the board, they're getting Harsh Ruled, and if they don't, then what are the biggest threats getting channeled? Or maybe I should just them. Yeah, just channel the opponent. Nice fast speed Hailstorm as well here, just for a little bit of a nice spice. So find the way for basically free here, because it turns this into a undepleted power, but I think we'll just be Harsh Ruling, play the actual depleted power. And now if our opponent is playing Shark Class Mages, they've got two really good targets for it. So sort of overloading them on choices here. Unfortunately, the Disjunction is not going to be excellent against our opponent here. Oh yes, new tomorrow, nice. So what do we want to do here? Could just Vanquish this and Hailstorm the rest. That's probably what we'll do. Then we'll just get to lay down the new tomorrow next turn. So we didn't quite draw what we needed to be able to lay it down. But I suppose we'll Lumen Reclaimer ourselves. Find a way to get any sort of source is fine. And don't really need to use the Crest because we will be actually new tomorrow in. So I'd rather get the... Probably going to get a Crest down from that. Get the old a new tomorrow in response to your killing my dude. There we go. Lost a little bit of value there because we should probably just be using the Crest like after this has already been shuffled into the deck. But I did want a bit of style points, and we'll just be bottoming any nonsense here. I could actually just also use the Lightning Strike to kill this, but I'm just going all out for style points, gain a little bit of life there. Yep. And now we've got like a bunch of Lumen Reclaimers. Okay, there we go. So I do want to see some like card draw on the top here. And Wismields is perfect when you've got like a million power in hand. I'm not sure how the interaction with like Shotglass Mage would actually work. If our opponent targets the Temporal Distortion, we just get to harsh rule first, that'd be pretty nice. I'm sort of reasonably okay with just taking 10 here because we are getting 2 a turn. And sort of really want our opponent just to add a little bit more to the board here. And they're not biting, so I suppose we'll just Wisdom Elders. Now I've got more copies of the Wisdom there. What's now been the new tomorrow that we really don't want to draw again. I suppose we could kill this and then like shuffle it back in. I suppose that's sort of fine. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to cut that. And first what we'll do, I should not got that much good stuff in our deck here. So just shuffling a bunch of useless stuff like Z Initiations and Dawnwalkers back in the opponent's deck. It's like, nope, no value for you. Yeah, and that was enough for our opponent to sort of give up there. Okay, and here we are for the last game, and this influence is not the best. I do like any hand of a Moondial, but let's redraw this up. Got a bunch of luck with the 2 crests, but it's not really where we want to be. And right here we get to have a nice and early Find the Way, which could be quite nice for us actually. As we're able to fix all of our influence for pretty much the rest of the game. This deck's actually been pretty sweet. I've not actually had much practice playing it because no one seems to really concede even when they're just so dead. But if we just get to play against like time mid-range decks all day, that's sort of fine. And this looks like actual tokens with ties favoured, or maybe it's just like a really like old sort of build. But I'm more than happy to play against that sort of stuff. Yeah, I know in the comments should have got like the extra Primal source there for the Channel Tempest, but we've got plenty of ways to find it. Sort of, I don't want to have like dead islands. And this is actually just an old version because they do have Dawnwalker here. Yeah, I've still got the Justice Sigil. And I've got infinite Strategizes. Strategize is not exactly the best in multiples. I should actually up any cards. I would like to find some Desert Marshals though, because Dawnwalker is a real pain in the butt to deal with. Lightning Strike sort of helps a little bit. Let's use the non-premium Strategizer just so our hand looks nice. Temporal Distortion, yeah, go on then. Yeah, we'll keep this. No one's going to play another one. We'll just play a Lightning Strike here, just sort of keep this tidy. Oh, actually, yeah, we'll take damage, it's fine. My opponent's not adding anything to the board because they're not hitting 4 power. We're in sort of great shape here. Our Moondial as well, nice. So we're definitely going to be hitting our opponents. We don't need infinite Lightning Strikes here as well. I sort of don't actually want to play this Moondial yet, just because our opponent's struggling on power. We're close enough to be able to play this Temporal Distortion and then be able to channel Tempest. So I think we're actually just going to strategize here. We don't need like, I mean, the 3 of them are lethal. So maybe we do. Yeah, let's get rid of this Wisdom. That's literally the first time I've ever bottomed a Wisdom. But we came here to game. And they drew the influence anyway. But if we kill this Dawnwalker now, they're not be able to get back this turn, so that's sort of nice. We are taking 1 though. Which is some big beats there. I'm just like, drew all the Wisdom Elders because this deck loves us. I'll just crest it up first. So we'll get to getting the life off the Amber Waystone and having instant speed. Yeah, play the Moondial. Having instant speed Harsh Rules is just absolutely busted against any sort of like time-based mid-range deck. A lot of their units like this Worldbearer Behemoth are actually worth just killing off with like a Harsh Rules of 1-for-1 as it is. So we'll get 2 life because, but we'll just be Harsh Rule in here. Could be super lucky and our opponent could be sort of nice and like play a pre-combat threat for us here, but that's probably unlikely. A lot of players in this game did come from Magic, so they tend to just like play any units in like the sort of main phase 2. But Harsh Rule here. It stops us taking ability. And there's actually a lot of threats that our opponent could redeploy here that do get swept up by a Hailstorm. But that's not the case here. So we're just going to channel our opponent over the next couple of turns. Yeah. I mean, I could have just actually seen how, just paid attention to how much damage we actually dealt there. But we do get to kill our opponent. I'm pretty sure now. Though I will be using a card just to kill these, just because I don't want to get like randomly burnt out by like an Obliterate or something. That just sounds like the worst. Rats, the math's different. I'm pretty sure we'll still get to do it because we get to draw 6 cards on top of how many cards we got in hand. So we're going to channel now turn. When our opponent goes to their turn, we'll channel them again. So now we like, I suppose we may as well play some cards because we have to discard down anyway. So whip that down, discard to hand size. Then when our opponent goes to attack, so we get to 8 of them. Well, get to 12 of them. This deck's fruity, I love it. Okay, thanks for watching. The irrefutable evidence that I'm just a terrible human being, as I've been playing the Lumen Distortion deck. Thanks to friend of the show, Prometheus10, for sort of putting me onto this deck, and though I've made a couple of tweaks from the list that they were playing, but basically just amalgamating all the Distortion decks I could find together. I've been pretty happy with the list, and I just really enjoyed that last game where we just got to channel them out over like 2 turns, which was just absolutely excellent. The Celestial Omen misclick against the Primal carry deck was pretty gross, but I'm pretty sure that matchup's just like the absolute worst anyway, because the carries are pretty rough to deal with. And yeah, we don't have any in cold blood or anything just to deal with them. We do have like enough ways of dealing with like any of the weapons with the disjunctions and stuff like that. I think we probably just need to really get like perhaps like a quick Stronghold's Visage into like a protected Sword of the Sky King. I'm not sure you win that matchup, but maybe someone in the comments will know. The deck's like an absolute blast of play, which is what I actually just say about every deck. This is perhaps one of the biggest deck lists I've played as well, because it is over 3 columns. I usually like to keep them nice and succinct over just a 2, with perhaps 1 or 2 over here. But this is getting pretty close to being the full double page spread here. But overall, would recommend crafting those Temporal Distortions and New Tomorrows, as the deck's pretty nice to relax. So if you don't really need to pay too much to what your opponent's doing, because eventually you're just going to like challenge in or harsh ruling on your opponent's turn. You don't really need to think about everything, because you just have like the maximum amount of information before you ever make any of your plays, when you just make every single play on your opponent's turn. The influence is actually also pretty good as well then. So good that we even get to play a couple of Waystones, and we especially get to activate them as Cobalt Waystone and Amber Waystone. Some nice additions to the deck. Well, thanks for watching. I've been That Resolves, and this was Lumen Distortion.